What's going on, guys? How we doing? I'm going to bring in the guys in just a few minutes here. But first, I want to talk about what we're going to be doing tonight. And I thought, let's just cold open the show a little different and see what you guys think of this. So we are going to go right to the man himself.
Pointing the main things that they're.
Let me start that over again. Here we go.
If you listen to them, it's really smart what they're saying.
Do you ever give a speech today or during the playoff? Do you ever speak to the team like a locker room speech?
I mean, no. I mean, we have veterans that are doing a really good job, and they're really pointing the main things. And they're, if you listen to them, it's really smart what they're saying.
So that was a little sloppy, but the reason I played that, and I'll get to that in just a second, it's really important because the Discord right now is Jokic being underappreciated? Does he want the attention? Does he deserve the attention? Or is it basketball fans? Who's to blame for this? We're going to tie that into Taylor Swift, and we're going to give you our 10-minute from the top breakdown. I'm going to bring in Gov and Donnie now. How are we doing, guys? How are we feeling tonight?
Feeling good. Taylor Swift? Really?
That's what I'm saying. Taylor Swift.
I got a Taylor Swift tie in. It's all going to work. It's all going to make sense. I promise.
I'm okay.
But that's the thing. So you guys heard the clip from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Was that Joker? You see it in the comments. Was that Joker comedy or was he being serious?
I think he's serious.
He's dead serious, but that's also some deadpan comedy right there.
Right. It's both, right?
Yeah.
So we agree.
Well, I mean, I saw a clip from him before the game, and it's him just crossing his legs on the bench, and the thing says above it, the caption above it says, he's casually going to drop 30 tonight. Like, Jokic is just such a weird dude. I don't get it. He has no qualities of a superstar, it feels like. But he's probably, at this point, I think I have to concede he's the best player in the league. I can't say Giannis anymore. As much as I love Giannis.
It's like with Tim Duncan. Like, Tim Duncan, for most of his career, didn't give good interviews, but you knew him as the big fundamental because of how technically sound he was. Joker is going to be so technically sound, he's just so much better than everyone. But being an Eastern European guy, has he really spent a lot of time learning how to work the media, or has he spent a lot of time learning how to work people on the basketball court?
Yeah.
Joker now and Joker in 10 years is going to be a completely different interview. But I still think he'll be good.
I don't know.
I think
that's just who he is, though.
It might take the right coach next to him. Like, I don't think Mike Malone's going to help him be a great interview. But, like, if they get to a point where then he gets a more vocal coach, someone who is better at giving interviews themselves, that will help him.
See, Gov, I like it. I think it's for him. I think that if he changes, it's terrible. Like, I'm going to go widescreen on myself just for a minute, just so you guys can see something I don't normally do. It has nothing to do with my appearance. Gov can attest to this. Many people, when we started this podcast, said you need to shave, you need to wear a certain thing, you need to look a certain way. And I said, no, we're going to do it my way. And that's the only way I know how to do it, and that's to be authentic and truthful. And I also know that, like, I am not the best looking guy. I have, I dress a bit different. You guys will see that as this podcast ages. Sometimes I wear a suit and a t-shirt, and sometimes I don't comb my hair. And so I have all these different shades of my personality and persona all tied into one. And I really think that's Joker. I really do.
Me too. I like it.
But Gov mentioned his deadpan delivery is also comedy, but he's being truthful. I think it might have been you, Donnie.
It's basically just how he is, yeah.
Right. Because they asked him, like, what he enjoys to do in an interview I think it was like 2 months ago, and he's like, I like raising horses. And everyone thought
he showed up to game one in a shirt that says, I paused my game to be here. Well, it's funny. It's a funny shirt for him to wear. It's just not something you'd expect. I love Joker.
How many serious conversations have me and you had, Donnie?
Oh, countless.
Right. But you also know I'm very weirdly humorous. Where, like, I joke about things that people wouldn't joke about normally. And that's due to my disability. I had 12 surgeries before I was the age of 14. So I was put in some various like serious situations and some like very adult situations. So I found a way to make comedy out of very dark and very what would you say, like mature content, like serious life-threatening surgeries kind of. So it shaped my comedy. And honestly, I think Joker being international, him like embracing the American culture and the meme culture in just a fun way. Like he truly does raise horses for like on his off time. Like he has a ranch where he rides around a horse. People think it's a joke. Like, oh, this guy. No, that's what he does. Like that's what he enjoys, raising horses. Like it is kind of funny because it's so unique, but it is him at the same time. And so the whole conversation though is Joker underappreciated, or are we kind of jumping the shark? Because I think it was I was listening to a podcast called The Press Box by The Ringer, and they were breaking down Mike Breen and Mike Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, and literally like it's kind of weird because Denver doesn't get a lot of national attention, right? And so in a way, they have to introduce the main stars to the casual audience. And we can hate that as fans, but let's face it, not a ton of the 82 games are on NBC throughout the year. And even less of those games have been Denver Nuggets games. Is that because the NBA has disrespected the Denver Nuggets? Hell yes. In some ways, it's true. Now, have they totally slighted them? Is it a conspiracy? Like, no, that's not true either. So it's somewhere in the middle. But I would say it's true that a lot of casuals don't know how great Denver really is. Denver's been the number one seed all year, and they've been dominant. And let's face it, the Heat have been that Cinderella story, and so it's just a lot more fun narrative. It's an easier narrative to explain to casuals. This Jimmy Butler, this underdog, this junkyard dog character. I mean, it's a Disney Pixar kind of storyline.
Before we get into that, I want to hit on one thing with that. No one has really said in the mainstream media, at least, the Heat in the regular season had a negative point differential. Like, that is unfathomable to think. They lost one play-in game and they had a negative point differential. This run is incredible. They came into Denver and stole a game.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
I was
totally thinking Murray was about to give us overtime too.
No, me too. And I want to hit on that too. I feel like everyone outside of Michael Porter Jr., another disappointing game from him, and KCP, everyone who was on the court tonight had a big impact on both teams. I really feel like this is one of the greatest games I've ever personally watched, just as a fan.
Yeah.
And there wasn't the flashy game winner. There wasn't, this high scoring thing. It wasn't a great defensive battle. It was sloppy at times. I think 24 about turnovers throughout the whole game.
No, but it was actually quite crisp. I was watching it on the Sky Cam, so I didn't have any announcers, no sound. It's just me watching basketball from above. If I didn't look down when I did, I wouldn't even have noticed there was 48 seconds left in the clock when there was. I could have sworn we were still at 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter and we were battling. And no, it's a 3-point game with 40 seconds left. I'm like, oh, shit.
I don't know if I'm overvaluing how good this game was, and because it's not going to get the media attention. But the comeback from the Heat, Denver had a strong comeback in the last 3 minutes. I think they were down 10.
Yep.
And Jamal Murray came out and just decided he's going to hit his threes out of nowhere because he was not having a great shooting night. What a game.
But Donnie, that sound effect and not actually putting words to it, just being like, just taking a moment, just giving a Ric Flair, like, woo, that was a hell of a performance, or I don't even know the words for it. That
from everyone.
Yeah, Vincent hit his shots. Struss and them came out and hit all the shots they missed in game one.
Kyle Lowry came in, and when Kyle Lowry made it a 77-75 game on his second 3-point shot in a row, I was like, hold on, Miami's fighting, and this could be their chance to come out and win. They fell behind a bit, but in that fourth quarter, the start of that fourth quarter, Miami was out to prove something, and they proved to the world where I don't think many of us thought they could win a game, and not only win a game, they win it in Denver.
Let me make this point. They say when you enjoy your job, you won't mind doing it like long hours, crazy hours, working your tail off. So believe me, I work tomorrow, but it's like a job of passion, and so is this podcast. So I don't want to cut any. Like I got all night. We'll get through it all. One point I have to make though is I told you I was going to tie this back to Taylor Swift, and I just think it's such a perfect tie-in. Okay, I think everyone here would say no one here is a huge Taylor Swift fan, right?
Nope.
But you can admit that she's like a global star at this point. Like she is liked, she is part of the pop culture. Like there's a large section.
She has very large tours, yes.
Right. And so you would agree she has earned some of her notoriety and performance. Like she's not a one-hit wonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a pocket of people that don't realize how big of a fan base she has, the impact she has, but we can still appreciate it. To me, that's where Joker is, right? He is loved amongst NBA people. He isn't trying to seek it out because he doesn't need to, because honestly, I feel like maybe this is my bias and wrong of me to say, but I'll be honest. I think if you're a true NBA fan, there has to be at least 40% of you that appreciates Joker. Not to say you have to be a Denver Nugget fan, not to say you have to be a super fan, you don't even have to own a jersey, but if you're going to call yourself an NBA fan that means versatility and diversity and like all the things he can do on the basketball court, if you don't at least appreciate that at almost a 50% clip, I have to question your basketball intelligence. But I just want to say there's also a pocket where Joker isn't the flamboyant type. He's not seeking it out. He doesn't do a ton of commercials. So if you're just a casual fan that likes golf, that watches golf on CBS and Jim Nantz, and you just flip over to ABC because hey, I heard it's important basketball. This is the time of year where basketball's on ABC, and you don't know who Joker is, I'm perfectly fine with that too because he doesn't seek it out. But I just think that amongst the pocket of people who really appreciate basketball, I think everyone knows and appreciates them. Just like you guys don't have to be the biggest Taylor Swift fans to appreciate her talent. Now, there's also a pocket of people. She is sold out. I think she's on tour right now. And she's honestly sold out, I think, 5 stadiums. And to the point, I'm not kidding you guys. I listened to a podcast. There are grown women and probably men for that matter. So I don't want to make this about just teenage girls, although it is true, this story, that CBS and like some drugstores are literally putting the pins behind like fiberglass displays like they're condoms because some of these concert goers are honestly buying so many adult diapers that because they don't want to miss a Taylor Swift song because she is so dedicated to like sing all of her like hits, and there's so many of them. There's like 45 she's doing per night that they don't want to miss a song, that they're willing to defecate on themselves to like not miss the song. So I'm not saying like you should know Joker's how many MVPs he's got, how many triple doubles, and like you shouldn't ever go to the bathroom when you watch him. But to your point, Donnie, what we are seeing is historic basketball. And for people to be like, well, this isn't the Celtics or this isn't the Lakers, they're missing the point. And if they miss the boat, they missed the boat. I think they're going to miss history.
How big would it be if Miami wins this series? Like,
oh God!
Imagine the Jimmy Butler talks.
Okay,
Spoelstra now becomes like one of the greatest coaches of all time. Like everyone takes a jump up.
Right.
But But I mean, do you see what like? I don't think us as fans, to your point, Donnie, I don't think us as fans, if we're real basketball fans, really care if the Heat or Denver win. I don't, because I don't think we win or lose. I just think we see great basketball.
It's so big for both teams, like historically.
Right, historically, that's what I'm saying.
But no matter which way this series goes, we are seeing very big history in the NBA. And I'm fine with either outcome. I'm going to be a Heat hater. I'm going to keep plotting on this Heat downfall. I've been doing it since the Bucks series. Damn, I hate the Heat. And I'm going to continue to hate the Heat. And it's fun to hate the Heat.
Am I strange, though, because I don't feel a pull either way. I really don't.
No, see, I can hate the Heat, but also respect the fact that they are so ridiculously overperforming what they are and the step they've taken. And it's not that I really hate the Heat. I'm just frustrated that everything we've seen this past season, the whole regular season, they were not a great team. Then they come into here and give us a Cinderella story, which I'm fine with a Cinderella story, but I wanted to see Giannis win. I want to see Joker win. I really wanted to see my Celtics win. So I can hate them and still respect what they're doing.
No, I'm not saying I don't have a pull in this series. I do. I have a strong pull towards Joker. I think he's been fantastic. Anyone can check the receipts for me. I've been a Joker fan basically since he came into the league. In fact, I was on the fan base to say get rid of the kid from the Trailblazers. His name is blanking me right now, and they had both of them. Help me out, Gavi. You know what I'm talking about. Nurkic. When they had Nurkic and Joker, there was an honest conversation which big guy was better. And I'm like, if you don't think it's Nikola Jokic, then you're crazy. And then he went on his crazy streak where he lost a ton of weight and got himself in shape. So I've been a fan from that guy from day one. But I'm saying from the Heat perspective, I've never bought into the Heat, and they've exceeded my expectations every time. But I've also never hated the Heat. But I guess that goes back to their main star, because I kind of feel the same thing about Jimmy Butler. I appreciate Jimmy Butler as like junkyard dog. You know, I'm a big Russell Westbrook fan. So like I love that character, like that character basketball player. It reminds me of Kobe. Obviously you guys know I'm a huge fan of Kobe. But the reason I don't like Jimmy is I just don't like the way Jimmy has that attitude, but doesn't. I don't know, his delivery just is off to me.
I would 100% agree. I don't like when he loses, he's still smiling on the sidelines. It's like, I get having a confidence about you, but I need to, I don't know. Especially for what he's getting. I want to see him frustrated. He hasn't had a great game in a while. It's been, since maybe game 2 against the Celtics. He hasn't had a great game in a long time. We need a great Jimmy game.
But Donnie, you said it was like you don't like the way the Heat work. I mean, if we're being honest, also Max Strus was on the Celtics, went off the Celtics. It had success with the Heat. I do think that plays into your bias a bit. I honestly
really do not give a damn about Max Strus. Like, I could not care less about whether Max Strus was on the Celtics right now or on the Heat right now.
I disagree with that. The passion in your voice and the way you bring it up, it tells me you care. You don't want to care.
I really don't. I do not think Max Strus turns the Celtics into a championship contender. That does not move the needle.
Someone could say, do you believe Donnie or you lose your penis? And I'm keeping my penis because I don't believe you, Donnie. Like, you could tell me till you're blue in the face. I would go to the grave saying it still bothers you at some level of your heart.
I swear, if it would bother me if he was successful on the Celtics and they traded him. But I don't think he turns into that player with the Celtics. I don't trust their coaching staff.
We got to get Gov back in there. I'm telling you, every time I bring up Max Strus, Donnie goes on like a 20-minute tirade, but then he tells me it doesn't matter that he was a Celtic at one point. So I don't know what to believe.
It doesn't matter that he was a Celtic at one point. I agree with what Donnie's saying. Like, I don't think Strus becomes that in Boston. He wouldn't have gotten the playing time. He wouldn't have got the coaching needed to be what he is.
I'm saying if I bring up, even if I say the word Max, Donnie's passion bucket starts to fill. So he can say all the words he wants. I don't know. It might just be a Pavlovian response to you, Donnie. I don't know what it is, man. I'm just telling you, the passion level does raise every time I mention the guy's name.
I just feel like I'm passionate about most of my sports takes.
It might be. It might be. But look, that's why we got to be transparent. Is because like I'm not setting you up here. And to be transparent, we talked about the show. We said we're going to go as long as we need to, and we'll steer the conversation where it needs to go. And that's kind of what I like. I like that we have an idea what we're going to talk about, but we never plan out this show because I want this show to always feel that way. Hey, we're going to talk about the NBA. I don't know if that means 20 minutes on Jokic or that means 15 minutes on Butler. I never want to break down the show that way. But Gov, what are kind of your like thoughts just on the series? Like anything we haven't talked about, anything we need to talk about? Like you've been quiet for a while, so you've been reflecting, you've been marinating in all this information.
I'm wondering with them, like they didn't really play Kevin Love second quarter and fourth quarter like they basically did throughout most of the series or the other series. Is that going to continue, or are we eventually going to ease Caleb Martin back into the starting lineup once he's not sick and figures out how he can guard this team?
Well,
or is Kevin Love just going to be the better fit to guard, to be out there in that zone when you have Gordon and Porter, who are like 6'10", almost?
Well,
like it's that's the thing. Like, how is Kevin Love actually? Like, was he the huge factor in inserting him in the starting lineup that kept this close?
Hey,
because he did play a decent amount of minutes. He played more minutes than I expected.
They won the first quarter, and he played a lot of first quarter minutes, I felt like.
Yeah, I know he played like at least 23 or 24 minutes in the game, and I wasn't expecting him to play 20. I figured he'd do his like play 6 or 7 in the first quarter, then maybe get 2 minutes in the second, and that's it. And then maybe do the same 6 minutes in the third and not play in the fourth. Because that was his rotation through like most of the first part of the playoffs. So like I sort of expected him to do that. And they kind of did that, but he did play longer stints than before. I don't know how much that goes forward. I don't know if that was actually like, I'd have to go back and rewatch the game and just watch Kevin Love if that actually helped them. Like, it didn't seem to hurt him this game.
He did really well the rebounding.
And everyone was making shots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me get in here because we just made the point that we steer the conversation where it needs to go and we don't really talk about it beforehand. You guys didn't know this, but it just so happens, if you guys can see my screen, I built a Kevin Love graphic as soon as I was watching that game because I had a good feeling he was going to be brought up. Now, you guys are kind of making me seem like I'm forecasting this and setting this up. I promise you they did not know my topic bars, but I knew Kevin Love was going to be a big part of this as soon as he was announced as a starting lineup because he just outlets the ball so well. He does so many under the radar things. That's why I was for sure this guy was going to be a Laker. And in fact, of all the moves the Lakers made, I think this was the mistake the Lakers made all season, not bring this guy in. And honestly, I think it's a mistake that he didn't play him. And I'll say this, even though statistically it doesn't look like it, I don't think they win this game without Kevin Love. Like, I think he did all of the sloppy kitchen. Like, he cleaned up the kitchen so that the kitchen staff could have a clean kitchen, Gov, and you work in restaurants a lot. That stuff is the best way to endear yourself to the chef. Best thing you can do to have a healthy and thriving restaurant is like have a clean kitchen, have a well-run. It just helps the staff. It helps the front of the house. And to me, that's what Kevin Love did tonight.
Well, see, maybe I'm just a hater, but I really think I'd rather see Kevin Love on the court than Cody Zeller. Maybe I undersell Cody Zeller's value.
You saw both on the court at the same time in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Zeller didn't play much. So.
No, and I figured that Zeller's minutes would start to go away. Because I
think they should go away.
Like, and if Kevin Love stays starting, I can see them doing that. because you're gonna eventually give Caleb Martin more minutes. So if he's coming off the bench, they got to come from bench guys. So I figure Love playing more means Zeller plays less.
Here's a hot take for you, and I played him, so I can back it up if you guys don't believe me. Christian Braun from the Denver Nuggets needed to play more, and I'm playing.
He had a solid game in the first half.
He won me money in the first game as my Chief Showdown slate guy. Like I said, I got the receipts. I can prove it. I played him again tonight, and I will continue to play him until he's over 2,000, which he probably will be for the next.
Okay. Well, if you're going to do that, Logan, if you're going to say he needs to play more, who are you taking minutes from?
Oh, I'm taking minutes. I'm cutting a lot of people, but one of the main.
Well, guys, I mean, okay. Well, you can't cut a lot of people. Denver's only been playing 8 guys, and two of those 8 guys have only played like 8 to 10 minutes a game at most, and one of them is the guys you're trying to give minutes to.
But Gov, what I'm saying is I'm gonna slice 2 guys and give those minutes. Like I'm slicing Brown's minutes and I'm slicing Caldwell Pope's minutes.
Okay, I can see Caldwell Pope because he hasn't had a huge impact yet. I think he will have a big game, and I don't think a big game means 25 points. Hey, I'm saying he can give you 17 on a really nice shooting night. And I know you like KCP. I don't think you're trying to say, KCP can't be, a 35-minute guy.
No, I'm just saying I think he's more efficient if he's like a 28, 27-point guy, especially at this point in his career. He made the best play in this game, in my opinion, when he chased down Jimmy Butler and knocked that ball out of bounds. That was the single best.
I could see KCP losing some minutes for Christian Braun. That makes sense. Right. I don't see Bruce Brown because Bruce Brown is going to play all of Jamal Murray's backup minutes, which is minimal. And then he's also Michael Porter's direct backup. So I think those minutes are pretty solid. If you were to just say KCP's not going to play 35 and he's only going to play 30, then Braun probably plays those 5 minutes because they're not going to Jeff Green. He's playing the backup center stuff.
But I'm okay getting rid of all Jeff Green's minutes.
Whoa! Jeff Green had a good game.
Again,
he got the line. He got 6 free throws that game.
Yeah,
he had 9 points. I mean, he had a good game.
I could give a shit less. I think you can get more from an athletic young Braun, and I think you could go small ball in today's NBA, and you could have Gordon play the backup center minutes just enough efficiency. Like, I don't think you need Jeff Green.
I don't think you can if Miami's going to be doing, what's their names? Why are they, Bam and Love? If you have Zeller in there, I agree.
If it's Zeller and Caleb Martin, then yes, you can definitely do it.
Gordon is way more athletic and plays bigger than Kevin Love at this point.
True, but Kevin Love is still probably just a experience-wise pure rebounder better than Aaron Gordon.
Don't get me wrong. They said on the broadcast that this was on hyperbole and like I'm just ripping them off. But I've said, going back, because remember, Kevin played at UCLA. I've been a Los Angeles supporter in basketball my whole life. Trust me when I say Kevin Love is the best outlet passer I've ever seen in my life. I understand his offensive, like he can truly outlet, like the Diamond badge in 2K was designed because of Kevin Love. Like he is the architect of that skill set. But he has a defensive liability at this point.
True. And that's why, like, you can only play him in spurts.
Right.
You have to play him in this, like, zone that Miami plays where you can accentuate his rebounding when his defense, which will falters.
Right. But you guys know what I mean? Like, let me just go back to that because I don't think enough people are going to talk about that moment. When they stole the ball from Joker and KCP ran that play down, that was probably the best defensive effort I've seen all season. That was tremendous get back from KCP. And it's going to go underappreciated because they didn't win the game. But look, to Donnie's point, I don't think there was a loser in tonight's game. I just think it was really good basketball.
So my question is, how do we get Michael Porter Jr. going? They need to get Michael Porter Jr. going.
Do they?
I think so. You
Donnie, I would agree with Michael Porter's talents. In fact, I would say this: if they get him going, the Heat have a 0 chance of winning the series.
Well, if you're putting it at 0 chance, that's why you need to get Michael Porter Jr. going.
But I'm saying, like, he's the dagger. If they get him going, but they've been trying to get him going since
He's always just sort of hit or miss. He always takes shots. It's just he is the most inconsistent guy.
Which they need. They need somebody that third guy to just, I'm going to shoot it.
Look, I love.
But it was Gordon's first game, but they adjusted on him, and then Porter was able to
Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, no, but like Porter Jr. had a good second half, but like it was after they made the adjustment to defend Gordon better in the first game that Porter Jr. started like having more open shots in the second half, and they all went down in that game. And this game, he did not have his shots go down, kind of like how Miami had none of their shots go down in game 1. It was that's sort of the tale. If this is how it's going to be, I trust Denver's shooters more.
Right.
But if it's going to be a who shoots better series, anyone can win, and it can definitely go 7.
Well, here's the thing. I remember game 1, Michael Porter Jr. only made 2 threes, and the prop bet had him at 2.5. Tonight, 99% of the bettors had him to hit over 2 threes again, and he only hit 1 3. That's the thing. That 5 and 6 is not enough. On 2 of 8 shooting, 5 and 6 is not enough.
I love Michael Porter Jr. I love that guy. I love what he could be. I love what his adversity coming back from a back injury. But there's also a part of me that says no matter what he does, he just will never reach what he should have been, whether that because of injuries, whether that because his dad played in the league and the pedigree was there and people just thought so much of him. But I don't think he'll ever be considered a bust either. I don't think he'll live up to his expectation of what they thought he could have been. Because remember, they were saying without the back injury, he would have probably been a top 5 pick.
Right.
But then
he probably would have been, top 3.
But then I think he slipped too far. I don't think Denver should have ever been able to get him. I think it was criminal that people just thought he was never going to be anything.
But I think he kind of is where what was his pick again? It was middle of the first round, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was like 11th, 12th pick, something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of where he'd probably be ranked around his draft class. I don't remember his draft class exactly, but I don't think if you did a redraft, I don't think it'd be much different.
But I want him to be so much better. I want to be wrong on this guy so badly because I just love everything about him. I love the versatile unicorns in this league. So Giannis, Joker. I love all the. Michael Porter is the biggest unicorn guy there is. It's just I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy.
Yeah, with me, I just see extreme value in your that third, fourth guy being a streaky volume shooter. I'm 100% okay with that being your third, fourth guy. I think we put Aaron Gordon above him now. So I think he's the 4th option on this team. That's cool.
Guff, let me ask you a question because I thought this about Michael Porter, and you're the perfect guy to ask because I think you know enough about this guy. I know Donnie probably doesn't because he probably was in diapers when this guy played. Michael Porter reminds me a lot of Rasheed Wallace.
I didn't even know his dad played in the league.
I think his dad. I know his dad coached him for many years. It was in basketball. Come to a lot of his games. He doesn't like to be recognized. His dad's kind of quiet, leave me the hell alone, but I know what the hell I'm talking about kind of guy. But Michael Porter reminds me of Rasheed Wallace in this way, where it's we always knew he was good, Donnie or Gov, but we never really appreciated him until it was too late. Michael Porter, people are going to finally start to realize how good he is. But by that point, he thought he wanted Jimmy. He's been with, Joker. So he's just never going to have his own team. But I do think, later in his career, he could just be that guy that's always on good teams. Is that fair?
I mean, I'd have to see that happen. I'm not as high as you guys. I've always had Aaron Gordon as the third best player on the Denver Nuggets.
No, I think
Michael Porter's a great wing. When he can be, he should be a great wing defender who can hit some threes and give you all the peripherals you would need. Like I think of Michael Porter as
he's a weak defender, though.
Kawhi Light is at his ceiling, which means he needs to be a much better defender because he's had a horrible defensive season. Like that's my
hold on, no.
When
he's
I
had a
think
horrible career defensively.
Nah, I don't know about that. Maybe I've just been watching the wrong dude. I think of him as a defensive specialist who's a really streaky shooter. And that's why it doesn't surprise me that he takes his shots like he's like what's the other guy? Who's the guy who takes all the I'm trying to remember the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Guy takes all the shots, but sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. Fuck, who is it? No, not on this team. Completely different team. There's a whole it's a guy on another. Who is it? Shit.
While you think about it, I'll tell you who it reminds me of. It's another Denver Nugget. Is J.R. Smith. I don't know who you're talking about now, but who you're describing sounds a lot like J.R. Smith.
Oh, he's Dylan Brooks who plays better defense.
Oh yeah, so
that's what he is. That's what I have.
Dylan Brooks is way better.
Michael Porter is Dylan Brooks who plays better defense. Dylan Brooks might be a better offensive player, but they're still just the same dude. They're a wing defender who will jack up every shot given to them. Do you trust it? No, not at all. But I have Michael Porter just because of his size is a better him being 6'9" with a better wingspan makes him just on physical talent a better defender. It does. I'm not saying he's better skill-wise than Dylan Brooks. But because he's 2 to 3 inches taller with a 4-inch bigger wingspan, he's a better defender than
I'm so low on this dude, Steve.
But that's what I have Michael Porter. I have Michael Porter as just bigger Dylan Brooks. That's why he's number 4 on that team to me, and he has always been. They got Aaron Gordon, who was a top 3 pick for Orlando, and a guy they were trying to see if you could build around, to come and be the number 3 guy. And all you have to do, you don't have to be a top scoring option. Just be efficient and use your athleticism. And he does that better than Michael Porter does. So just arguing that team, Gordon is the 3, Porter's the 4.
Donnie,
and I don't see it. I don't even think that's an argument. If you're if you're arguing Porter is the 3, then you think he's a really good defender. I can't, because he doesn't show the offense for him to be a 3. So you have to think that he's got good defensive genes if you think he's the 3rd best player on that team.
First of all, the best genes in the world are Levi's. Let's in that conversation. But let me make this point. I'm going to grab some coffee so then you can have your time in the sun, Donnie, and be the arbitrator here. But I see Michael Porter as being a more younger, athletic version of Carmelo Anthony. But
Carmelo was good scoring.
So is Michael, in my opinion. But
he doesn't give you 20 a game. And he never.
Trust me, I'm gonna go get my coffee in 5 minutes. You can have all the time in the world done. Let me just make the counterpoint to Guff here. Not even counterpoint, just like what I agree with, what I disagree, and you can be the mediator between the two of us. I would agree that Aaron Gordon is the 3rd best option. But I am so high in this Denver Nuggets team that Michael Porter being the 4th option on this team speaks to how evolutionarily great.
That's what I was thinking.
See, I agree with that. Michael Porter being your 4th option is a sign of a championship caliber team.
I think he could be your 3rd, and you could be a championship caliber team.
I think so too, but he's not right now. And look at this image I have on the screen. And I picked this image on purpose because I think a lot of people think of the Denver Nuggets as a cartoon team. I think they think of them as sometimes even a different sports team. That's why I kind of found this image to be perfect, almost in baseball caps. They're a good professional team. Yeah, they do some good things right. Michael Malone is very underrated. Some people don't even know who he is. The fact that Michael Porter Jr. is so good in the 4th option should tell you how deep Denver might be the deepest depth team I've ever seen in recent years. Like, might be the deepest team in the last 10 years. Like LeBron James gets credit for bringing that terrible Cleveland team to the finals because of their lack of depth. I think Denver is the polar opposite of that. I think Denver is like one of the deepest teams to ever make the finals I might have ever seen in my life.
They have 6 guys who should legitimately start on a team.
But we talked about it at the top of the show, even their MVP candidate, he might be the best. He might be the best player that no one talks about like enough. But I think that's okay. Like, if I was them, I would almost buy into the fact that we don't have a Jack Nicholson following us. That, our favorite, you know who the biggest actual, like, celebrity fan of the Denver Nuggets was before they, like, actually became a thing, and now everyone wants to be the biggest celebrity fan, was Trey Parker of South Park. Like, I would say that was their biggest fan. That's why I picked this card. Like, I wouldn't try to be something that Denver's not. I would buy into that cartoony nature. I would buy into, hey, we have this white guy that, that looks a bit different, that was a pudgy kid, Like, I'd buy into all those narratives. I wouldn't try to be something else. And I think that's why I honestly think Denver wins in 5 games.
And I love, before we go into that, I love how Mike Malone holds his team accountable. Every time something goes wrong, he's always the first person to call things out.
Okay, I'm leaving the conversation. I'm going to trust that you guys can carry it for 5 minutes.
Yep. No, but when Logan said something about Michael Malone, he even after this game, he's questioning his team's drive, and it's something to say that a coach that outside of his locker room probably doesn't have very high pedigree to just sit there and take command in the press conference and say, hey, we were awful. Not that they played bad tonight, but
Yeah, but like that's what a good coach is supposed to do. Like if nothing else, he's showing that he has the right to be where he's at. Unlike like in the last series, we're questioning whether we think Mazzulla should even be in the spot he's in, whether he deserves to keep that job or they should go get another guy.
Whether he deserved to get the job in the first place.
Right. Same thing with like the Miami-Milwaukee series. Like we were questioning, like, should have Budenholzer played it a little differently, even though like we sort of trust he has the experience because he already had the title with that team. Like, so like we've been questioning coaches throughout this entire playoffs. And I haven't needed to question Mike Malone on any of his stuff.
Not
he has
one.
been, if nothing else, he's been extremely solid. And
this is their first home loss of the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. And that's what scares me. It's like I also had Denver in 5, but I had Miami winning their 1 game at home, not here in Denver. That's what scares me. This makes me think that this series might go 7, like my original thought. But I thought that back when I thought Miami was going to get 7 days rest when they were up 3-0. Not when they had to play 4 more games and had no rest and had basically 1 day off going into game 1.
They only had to play Jimmy and Bam 40 minutes. They didn't have to play Jimmy and Bam like a staggering amount. This is
that's the thing with Kevin Love in the starting lineup. They still played the same. Like when Kevin Love wasn't in the starting lineup, you started Caleb Martin. They had condensed it to an 8-man rotation. You only had Kyle Lowry, Cody Zeller, Duncan,
and they
Robinson.
played 10 tonight.
Yeah, now you're bringing back in Kevin Love. You still had Zeller for a few minutes. And Highsmith is still somehow in the rotation. Like
that's right. He didn't do anything all game. Not that he had time to do anything for sure.
But that also is probably the best strategy. Like if they're going to be in Denver in altitude, guys are going to get tired quicker. You're going to need to be able to play a few more bodies just to give guys a few more minutes.
Well, I think Highsmith is out of the rotation. And I know plus minus, it's not a great stat thing, but he played 6 minutes and he was -7.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a great game. But like to be fair, like it's hard.
The
like
whole bench units had a minus, by the way, for Miami.
Yeah, but that like they sort of knew that when they put Love in the starting lineup. They sort of put all of their eggs in the starting lineup. The only way they were going to have a positive plus minus off the bench was if Caleb Martin looked good off the bench. And that
He looked
didn't like
not great.
He
He didn't look bad, but he didn't look like what we've come to expect in a playoff Caleb Martin.
He was sick yesterday. That's clear. That's definite truth. No misfudge. He was sick, non-COVID illness, whatever. Couldn't practice on Saturday. So
high altitude of Denver.
Yeah,
that could have a lot to do with it. The altitude shift.
The Denver altitude is definitely it showed in game 1. I think that's why they expanded the rotation in game 2. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how going back to sea level in Miami is going to help. I don't know if that changes because this is going to be a very big difference, like altitude-wise. You're going from sea level in Miami to the mountains in Denver.
Yeah, the difference in altitude, not exactly, it's actually more than this, is 5,200 feet. And you are doing that soon, if it goes to 7, back-to-back days. That is tough on the body, no matter which team it is.
Like, I still like Denver in 5, but it's scary now. Now, like...
Going to Miami, and now Miami did slip up against Boston in Miami.
Yeah, they're not
Miami's
invincible.
tough to play it.
Yeah, they're not invincible. I'm not saying
Denver looked invincible at home, though. And that's what's shocked.
The problem with me is it would not surprise me if we were 2-2 going to Denver game 5.
Me either.
Which really makes it seem like we're going to get 7-game series. But it also wouldn't surprise me if it's 3-1 going to Denver and Denver's about to close out at home. And that will be a very tough game for Miami.
But I can't even say, Miami can't win that game. Or even if it is
No, I can't. Miami has proven that they can be with any team.
Even if they get blown out in the next 2 games and it's like 20-point losses, I still think Miami can go in game 5 and destroy the Nuggets. It's Miami's such a tough team to predict. I don't know what to do with that Miami team because they shouldn't be here. Like, when you look at on paper, and that's what is so interesting about Miami, there's no reason for them to be here. To
be fair, we never got any real metrics on this Miami team. Like, Miami has been one of those teams all year. I remember multiple times this year I had to deal with DFS slates where Miami only had 7 guys. And we're playing an 8th dude who's phantom, who will never see the court. And, it's Kyle Lowry and Nikola Jovic and Omar Yurtseven. And
that's it. Maybe that's
none of the dudes were on the court now. And, that might be why they had such a bad record. They, this 8-man, 10-man core that they're playing now, they never played that core all season. Whether it was through everyone being hurt or just them having Oladipo and Hero playing minutes, it's not Struss and
which
Martin
we haven't talked about actually. That's a great point. Hero's coming back.
I don't think he should. With the injury he had, I thought you're not seeing him this playoff.
Hold on, let me
if
jump
you
in there.
He could fuck up his hand. He might not. I think
he's playing this series.
I think if you play Hero in this series, you're as dumb as Boston playing Brogdon in that last series. He was hurt. You just needed to sit him.
Because I do think this is a pivotal point, and we haven't seen the outcome. So this is a perfect conversation. And then I want just a 30-second follow-up to that, and I'll let you guys answer. One, I want to know, will he play this series? And then should he play? Because I think you guys disagree, and I'll be the mediator there. And then secondly, I want to know if you guys think this is a healthy dialogue conversation, because I think we went on a very healthy kind of dialogue, but I don't want to go on for too long, but I really feel like this is all good information. So if you could answer those 2 questions, and whoever wants to take it first is fine.
I'll take it. Yeah. He will play this series. I don't think that he should. I think it's rushed.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not blame them for wanting to give them the game. My argument is Vincent, Struss, Martin, Robinson, they've all played well. Unless you take minutes from Lowry. why are you going to take minutes from guys who I really feel like have earned the right to be on the court?
And importantly, just so you don't forget, Donnie, we are 50 minutes in. How productive or how organic or how good do you think this conversation's been? I promise you there's a point at the end of this podcast.
We have not repeated anything. I don't think we've talked about anything for too long.
So
These are all conversations we need to have if we want to sit there and think about the finals going forward.
Right. Okay. Let's kick it over to Gov. Let's get his opinion, and then I'll follow up with why that's important.
I don't think Hero's going to play, and I don't think he should play. So we'll start out with that.
Okay.
Like I think the injury he had is something I would let him get by. I think, like Donnie said, we've seen what they've had to do with these playoffs. I think this team has gelled. I wouldn't want to fuck that up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I agree with Donnie on the second point. If I'm bringing Hero in, it's off the bench for one of Duncan Robinson or Kyle Lowry. And I'm only asking Hero to do what those guys like. I'm asking him to be Kyle Lowry, play solid defense, and just don't fuck up. Or I'm asking him to be Duncan Robinson, get your open threes and hit them, and then work in that zone. But I don't think Hero will be ready enough where I would want to play him with a maybe bummed up wrist over a Duncan Robinson, or even maybe Kyle Lowry because it's fat Kyle Lowry. But that's just a.
But I will say he has earned the right to make that decision himself.
Fair point.
I don't know. I don't. This is Spoelstra's decision.
Right.
100%. I do not give a crap what Tyler Hero if he's like I have to play in the finals. You have to sit your ass down.
Spoelstra has the right to too.
I would be, if I were Pat Riley, I would come down and tell Tyler Hero, you sit your ass down if you want a ring, and you will play if we let you. That's what I would do. And that's what you should be telling. Tyler Hero is the kind of guy, like, let's put it this way. If Miami were to lose this series, I'm willing to trade Tyler Hero to get like a Lillard or to get a good package to put on this Heat team.
Mm-hmm.
Hero is not a guy I'm definitely going to keep. We're building, like, no. He's a really good player. That is all. Heal yourself so that you can be a good player when we need you. Don't bitch and say, I'm good enough to play now.
He has the right to say, I'm putting on a uniform and you play me as much as you think you want.
So,
like, if he wants to be there with the team, that's fine. If he's at shoot-around, if he's practicing and everything looks good, but it is up to Spoelstra to decide if he's ever going to be in the rotation.
He
does not never be on Tyler Hero.
Sitting in the ugly clothes that he decides to wear in his personal life. He needs to be in a Miami Heat jersey on that bench and subbed in when Spo and Pat Riley think it's necessary to sub him in.
look,
See, and I don't think that should be any time in this series. I think everyone else has proven enough. That's the guys you're going to go with.
Okay, if I have to decide whether I'm putting Yurtseven or Tyler Hero in a jersey, I'm putting Tyler Hero in a jersey.
No, I agree. But I think it's in this series, that's not the choice. It's like, do I put Tyler Hero in a jersey or do I put Duncan Robinson in a jersey?
You
That's
don't have
gonna
to play
be the
Hero, but
decision.
I need to see him active and available to play.
See, and I don't. I would rather see him in street clothes the entire series on the bench with the team, but in street clothes. It's like, okay, because the second he's not in street clothes, the narrative on the team is going to be, why didn't you play Tyler Hero? If you have him ready to play, why don't you play him? Because I was never, and then Spo's got to come out and be like, I was never going to play him. He's not ready to play. Then why the hell did you put him in uniform? For fucking shits and giggles? For show? Like, that doesn't look good for the coaching staff or the organization. That's a horrible thing to just have your guy do.
Hold on.
I respect Spo enough to let him make that decision at his discretion.
Right. And that's my thing. Like, that is Spo's decision to make. That is the first and foremost thing in my mind. That's Spo's decision. If Spo wants him on the bench because he thinks he can play him in place of Highsmith or something like that, or he can, now if he has him, he doesn't need Zeller, he can go small or whatever he thinks he can do. He can, like, whatever he thinks will work, I'm fine. But I'm pretty sure Spo knows that if Tyler Hero's not fully healthy, he has enough liabilities in his own game already not to just put him out there.
Gov, let me get in here for just 30 seconds because I love you, man. But we go on these answers. They're very important, and that's why I want to circle back to my last point of that question was when I asked Donnie, we were 49 minutes in. Do you think now that we're 55 minutes in, this conversation has been productive? I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with this question. Do you think this podcast, like, have we had any points where we've like it's gone bad or
no, like we've kept the flow going. We
right. Okay.
It's been different topics. I don't think we've come back on anything.
Right.
I've tried not to repeat myself.
Right. Okay. So continue.
I was about to say I just got off track. So yeah, I agree that's it's Spo's choice. I don't think he would do that because we know what, like we said, we know what Tyler Hero is. He's a very good player, but he is the number 3 on that team behind Butler and Bam. And like at this point, is him at even 85, 90% going to come in and be so much better than Max Strus, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin?
Okay, can we take when we're talking about that? I think we need to take Strus and Caleb Martin out of that conversation because they've earned the right to have those minutes in the finals. I think the conversation's Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Highsmith, Zeller. Those are the guys he's taking minutes from.
And I don't know if, like, again, Hero has always been sort of a defensive liability. So if you don't think you're going to get full offensive production from him, I don't know if he's better than Duncan Robinson or Kyle Lowry right now.
I've been quiet for long enough, damn it. And I agree that Tyler Hero deserves to be in the league, but damn it if that kid can't sit down and shut up when it comes to defense. He is the worst defender in the NBA Finals. Okay? So you can...
Duncan Robinson's real bad, too.
No.
There's a reason they play zone and not man-to-man. Like, they're not all... Right. None of them are great defenders, but they all have a good IQ and a flow. That's another thing. If they're going to keep playing zone, I don't want to put a guy in there who doesn't know the flow of these guys who have played, at this point, 20 games, 22 games, including the play-ins, with each other in this rotation. Like, that's I don't think the Heat have a 20-game chunk of any other 8-man core that they have all year. I really don't.
I'll make this point. If you told me I have to keep this player's contract for the next 3 years, let's just put it at a reasonable but pretty high number, and you told me you have to invest in the next 3 years in Kyle Lowry or Hero, I'm taking Lowry for his leadership and defense. I think I
could not disagree with you more.
No, like if I have 3 years, I don't know if Kyle Lowry's in the league in 3 years. He probably has one or 2 years left as a bench
guy, yeah,
for a championship team that needs like an experienced guard to come in and play a few minutes. Yes,
I don't even think it's 2 years. I think this year's his last year.
No, I think he definitely has another year after this one. But like, does he make it to 2026? I don't think so.
I don't even care at this point, guys. I would take him for 3 years, pay for the 2 years of production, and I will get a better player than Tyler Hero front to back.
I do think you can flip Tyler Hero for, at worst, picks where you can get another Tyler Hero. Like, I don't think Tyler Hero's so much of a good player that when 100% healthy, he's not a first-round pick away from being replaced.
I will say this now. Tyler Hero is the most overrated basketball player I've seen in the last 5 years. The fact that he was like the number one guy in the top chart market, the fact that the young people were trying to push this guy as like this great ball handler, this like off-the-dribble shooter, he was going to be like the next. I've even heard some people say he was going to be the next Devin Booker. I mean, I just don't. I don't like Tyler Hero. I don't care if I'm wrong about that. If I'm the old man on the porch in 5 years because he's got 2 championships and he like.
Listen,
Tyler Hero sucks.
He's 23. It can give you 20 a night.
He's 23, and the guy against him's probably getting 18 to 25 too. That's the problem.
No, but I can see him improve,
and he may be. And like if you,
I'm not high on Hero.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think you are either. But I think Hero needs to be 100% to do what you're saying. To be at the point where I want him on my bench to see if I can play him over Lowry or Highsmith or Duncan. I want him 100%.
Now,
And I don't think he'll be 100% until next season. I think he'll be good enough where he could play, but do I need 80% Tyler Hero? I don't think so. Not in this series. I think 80% Tyler Hero doesn't get you any farther in this series than what you have already.
Let me just clarify so that way when I'm on cold takes 5 years from now, because I told you he sucks, that way when they rip me, I can at least have some like callback to this moment. When I say he sucks, I mean he sucks in parallel to the rest of the NBA. Like obviously he's a superior talent as a basketball player, but in terms of the NBA context, he might be one of the worst. He is one of the worst defenders, but like I think his ball handling is highly overrated. He's a good shooter. So
he's more than that, though.
He's Kyle Korver on a good team.
He's more than that.
No, he's not.
And I'm not saying he's an all-star, but he's more than a Kyle Korver.
I don't think so. I mean, you can disagree. I just want it on the record. I don't think so.
It's healthy to disagree. I mean...
Right. I just want it to be know why I think that. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't want you to think, like, oh, Logan said he sucked 5 years ago. He's saying he's...
you know what? I'll give you what I think your coldest take in a long, long time was.
What's that?
I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you were big on the Jamal Murray is not good train.
I was.
And are you saying that you're wrong on that, or are you still on that?
I will say I'm wrong, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but one of the ideas...
I don't think we've ever said it on the podcast.
Right. Now, one of the ideas I had after the finals to kind of wrap up the NBA, and this is a good bridge because I'll bring up your Murray point to kind of preview that, is I want us to be... Because we always talk about transparency on this podcast. So I thought after the NBA Finals to kind of flush out the whole NBA season, it'd be great to look back at some of our NBA takes, where we were right, where we were wrong for the NBA season. I was going to bring up Murray. So I was compiling in my head some of your guys' cold takes, some of the takes you were right about. One thing I was wrong about was Murray. And I'll get into that in a minute. One thing I was right about, though, was Russell Westbrook. I think he was going to... But that's just an example of things I was right and wrong about. Do you think that would be a good show before I get into the Murray point of where we were right and where we were wrong?
If we can find enough of it, yes.
Oh, we can definitely find it. Because I think when you get big enough as a podcast, you forget to do that. You forget to keep yourself in check. And those are the moments I really like. Like, for example, my most favoriteest take after the NFL draft is like, not the draft grades, but when you get a true draft analyst to come on and say, hey, I didn't like this player for this reason, but I might have been wrong. Or I didn't see this happening, but I'm cheering for this player, right? Like that happened a lot with the Lions. It's like, do I think the Lions reached on Gibbs? This is what one analyst said, yes, but if Brad Holmes is as high as he says he is on Gibbs, I will be extremely happy for that kid if he can produce, at 75% of what the Lions think they got in him. So I think that is true. I think you can project something, but then also be happily proven wrong, right? Mm-hmm. I will be happy if Tyler Hero turns into a good player because I don't want to hate the guy. I just don't think he's very good, right? I'll bring him another point, but let me just have the Murray thing real quick. I didn't like Murray's game. I still don't like Murray's game. He's proven me wrong. I have this, like I coached basketball for 18 years, and one of the things that really drove me nuts is like when you're a big guy, like, when you're really good, dominant in the post, and you faded away. Like when you're big and you fade away from the basket, even if you hit the fadeaway jumper, I'm just like, why aren't you using your full-on ability? Like, if
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, like that's honestly what pisses me off about Davis. But he's so good and so efficient with it. It's like hard to argue. Or like people say, well, Steph Curry hits from this range. Why can't I? And I'm like, it's still a bad shot, even if he hits it because it's a bad shot for the majority.
It's a Damian Lillard, Paul George thing.
So
when Paul George said it was an awful shot,
yeah,
and everyone made fun of him, but it wasn't a good shot. It just he made it.
It can still be an awful shot for 90% of the population, but within Steph Curry's skill range, which makes it look like a good shot. And a lot of Murray's skill set does that to me. It irks me down to my core. The guy hits fadeaway jumpers when I truly think he is one of the strongest guards in the league, like physically strong. Like honestly, I think him and Drew Holiday might be the strongest point guards in the whole entire league. And the guy never uses his strength. He never uses, not enough. I mean, he started to use it more, but not enough. And
he's definitely started to use it more. He's
Right.
developed his game staggeringly in the past year and a half, I feel.
So true.
Right. So
And it's not showing up on the stats by any means, but he's just so much more efficient.
he has started to become more efficient, but you asked me like what pisses me off most about like players. That is it. Is like when I see a dominant skill set that they're not using, and Murray has at least 3 or 4 that just drive me absolutely nuts.
But when you said hero, I swear you said the same exact thing about Jamal Murray. Not the defensive thing, but like it was the same thing. You said, "Oh, I think Murray sucks," and I would move off him.
I would.
I see. I don't know if that was the exact quote. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I would be, if I was a general manager. I still think have a good batting average. Maybe that's egotistical of me, but Murray would be one I would be totally wrong on. I would have traded away Murray. Murray would not be on my team. He'd be my mistake, and I'd have to live with it, right? But I would buy the best anti-medicine I could for that heartburn, and I would keep it moving. Like I wouldn't dwell on it because I think those are the moments where you fall victim is when you dwell on things. And so like, I guess that's where I would be is like, yes, I was wrong, but I think I would trust myself to be more right. And I think that plays into why Murray,
there's nothing wrong with being wrong.
But hold on though, I think that's why Murray is so great because if you look at Murray, like his greatness, it's his tenacity, his what do you call his like resilience. Like he came back from a major injury.
And it's perfect to combat what Jokic is.
Right. There's a lot of guys who wouldn't have done that. A lot of guys can't do that. So I don't like the way he plays, but I think the reason it works is because he's got like a screw you attitude. Like if he heard my take, I think he'd respect me, but he'd be like, I hate this guy. And I'd be okay with it because I wouldn't expect anything else from him. I still don't think he's a good enough shooter. I still think Jokic makes him look better than what he is. He's improved, but
isn't that the job of the best player?
Yeah, it is.
Like that's Jokic's job. He needs to make everyone else look better.
Which I think is the biggest knock on Michael Jordan because I honestly think Scottie Pippen was way better than he gets credit for. I still think Michael was the best player in the league, but I think Scottie Pippen goes criminally underrated.
Didn't they win all like 66 games or something with Scottie as the number one?
They did.
Like that's not talked about at all.
Scottie came out and said that he thought LeBron was the best player in the league, and everyone got super pissed at him for that.
I hate when Scottie talks sometimes though, because I feel like part of the bias is, and maybe I'm wrong, but Michael Jordan's son is dating his ex-wife. Like, there's a lot of hate there, so I don't like it.
But Donnie, I can tie this back to our conversation. It's like I can be wrong about Murray, but still, like the reason I was wrong about him or didn't like him are still there. He just everything he's good at. He was able to use those things to prove me wrong. I still don't think he uses his strength correctly, even though he uses it more. I still think he relies on Joker, even though Joker is an MVP and can carry the load for the Nuggets. I think Murray should be better. I think there's a large majority of Murray that will always go underappreciated, even by himself, because he just doesn't use some of his abilities. And I honestly think like he's got a bit of John Morant in him, where it's like some of his athletic, some of his greatness is built on athleticism that when he ages, it won't translate very well. And so, like, I just feel like he's wasted some of his career.
Well, a lot of those players don't age well. I mean, Russell Westbrook really hasn't aged well. Some players just rely on their athleticism, and I'm fine with that.
Like most players do. Like there's not a lot of players that can play into their 30s who like are actually skilled enough at stuff to do things where even when they're slower or whatever, they can still make up for it. Like that's not a lot of NBA players.
You're right.
For example, I still don't like the way LeBron James plays. I still don't like a lot of things LeBron James does. But at this point in his career, I have to admit that, hey, this guy lasted longer than I thought he would. He deserves a lot more credit than I given him in the first 10 years of his career. And now in the back half, I would be an absolute buffoon if I didn't give him some credit for his longevity, for some of the things I didn't know if he was mature enough after the Miami debacle. I honestly didn't know if he'd have like a renaissance to that career. I thought like, I'm going to win 6, I'm going to win 7, I'm going to win. I thought like that ego was going to kill his career. I was wrong about that. But some of that like immaturity that he showed during that period, I still can't take that away. That's part of his story too. And that's part of the reason I hate him. But the back half, where he's like stayed extremely healthy and he's like taking care of his body, I admire that part.
Couldn't I argue you have to cut a guy like that slack, though, when he comes in the league at 18, 19 years old?
Maybe I should.
He was immature, too.
But
the Miami thing, he was old enough. He was old enough to know that was wrong, and you can say that.
But, Donnie, maybe
but
that's
early years with the Cavs.
Right. But I'm saying, like, maybe that's, like, not right of me or wrong. Maybe that's my natural bias. Because when Kobe came into the league, I was like Kobe's age. Me and Kobe are only separated by 8 years, or by like 6 years, something like that. So maybe I was more tolerant to it because it fit my age demographic at the time. Where it's like I was the curmudgeon, Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn guy, And so I'm like, I don't want this young punk kid from Akron, Ohio to come in and take Kobe's spot or take Tim Duncan's spot. Those guys are traditional. Maybe there was some bias in there.
I think that is it. And I'm not, like the Miami thing, I'll give you.
Right.
Because he was old enough to know that's wrong. But early years with the Cavs, his first 4 years, right. I think you have to cut a 18 to 22-year-old some slack.
But
that is when he's supposed to be learning that stuff.
Yes. Right. But I think that's like what's so great about us is we can do that. Well, why don't I do this? Why don't I do some rapid fire? Because I do think like that's where we get our most genuine action. We've went an hour and 13 minutes. I think it's been productive. I mentioned before the end of the show, so it didn't seem like I was baiting the question. But I think this whole conversation has been great. So I do think like for the sake of time, some quick hitters just to get some instant reaction would be a great way to end it. Are you guys okay with that?
Yep.
We'll do it around. You guys can even have some if some comes to the top of your mind. I got a couple of them, and it's just like one word answers, and then we'll pass it along and see how far we can keep this hot potato going. So the first one, if Joker is underrated, right? Let's just say he is. He's underrated by the casuals. By the way, we've grown tremendously on Twitter, so let me take a moment to plug our stuff. If you haven't, like and subscribe us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. We've seen a great influx of support on Twitter in terms of following recently. I've been on there having a lot of fun with a lot of our great followers. I engaged with Josh Giddey, who basically said, if anyone doesn't think...
Oh, I love Josh Giddey.
Well, you would love this, Donnie. He said on Twitter, and we engaged back and forth a little bit, he said, if anyone doesn't appreciate this series, they're casual basketball fans. Which is a fair take. He's basically saying, like, if you wanted Los Angeles and Boston, you're just a casual and you don't
I
appreciate.
think in our best ball draft, I was very high on Josh Giddey, but I could be wrong.
Fair
And I
point.
was wrong on that this season.
So, let's just assume
That was mostly due to the OKC deciding to like fuck off with their entire season and still make the play-in game.
Fair
Like
point.
OKC's kind of like what Miami did. Like you really don't have a 20-game stretch of a solid 8-man core for OKC all year. Yet
Right.
they had enough talent to get them to like get him in the play-in. That's basically what happened with Miami. They were injured and never really played this 8-man core that they have now.
You got to know about Oklahoma. They're hoping their second best player behind Shea Alexander was injured the whole year. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their rookie Chet was injured. If you get Chet, Shea,
And their
Giddey,
next picks, this first round picks coming in.
I don't care what happens with Oklahoma City. They want Chet Holmgren to be the number 2 to get.
Let's be honest, they want to be the number 1.
Well, I think Shea has proven to be number 1. Now, will they pay Shea? I don't know. Does Chet have to become the number 1 because they? But
I don't think he has to, but I think they want him to.
Right.
I think they don't expect him, but they want him to be that good.
But they want Giddey too. But if Giddey could be the number 3, like if they could build the depth that Denver has, that's kind of what they're going for. Let me ask these quick hitters though. So if Denver is underrated as a teammate, especially Jokic, let's say Jokic is still underrated by the casuals. Who's overrated in the NBA? You can use the whole NBA. It doesn't got to be just
Embiid. Like I think that's the answer.
Embiid definitely gets overrated. Like he is mostly a scorer, but the years he's played defense, he's also been hurt.
So Joker is the most underrated, and Embiid is the most overrated.
I don't think after this playoff run, I think everyone acknowledges Joker's much better than Embiid. I think they realize it's like an S tier versus a high A tier.
Not even that. I'm just saying, like in general, like if we're gonna say who the most underrated guy is, and we agree that's Joker. Who's the consensus like most overrated player in the league? You guys.
I mean, like I would say Embiid because he's the star player on a team that you think, even forgetting that, he's the star player on a team that you think has championship potential, and he just doesn't live up to it.
Any guy.
Yeah, and like he wins the MVP, but then he still's just not able to do it. So like I would say that, but like. To be honest, Anthony Davis is kind of starting to be that too. Because you expect him to be that on the Lakers. You expect him to be the stud. And I don't think he's been that since 2020. He just doesn't give you a full season.
And even when he was
healthy,
LeBron was still at a super high level. Yeah. Like LeBron was still right there.
They're sort of like the Philly of the West. It's like they have 2 really good players, and one of them should be like a top 5 player in the league when they play. It's just you can't get that out of them consistently for.
But LeBron shouldn't have to anymore.
Well, I don't even think about it as LeBron. Like LeBron can just be James Harden in my mind, and he's a lot better than that. But he can. But like the Lakers are supposed to be building around AD. That's their young star player.
100%.
He's the guy who needs to be a top 5 player for them to be big, and he just doesn't fill that role anymore. So like he might be right up there as one of the more overrated guys right now. But with AD, it's mostly due to his health, as where Embiid, it is somewhat his play.
I don't think you're wrong. And I think we came up with good candidates. So just to recap, we said Embiid is there as a potential. You said AD, and those are the 2 guys, right? You didn't mention
those would be my top 2 most overrated guys, I would think. Yeah.
I'm going to bring in my candidate, and it's not someone you mentioned, and this might like throw people for a loop. But truly, I just think team-wise, player, I've just never seen it. And, like, he's a good player, but, like, honestly.
I have one as well, and I wonder if it's the same guy.
Go ahead, Donnie. You say yours.
I just thought of another
You say yours first, but I because mine's a hot take, I think, and I don't know if everyone would agree with this. So
I don't think mine's a hot take. I just think he's so bad, but, like, he's on a good team, and he always has, like, that kind of name value, but never.
Mine's a very young guy.
Mine's another guy like AD.
Yeah, my guy has been in the league long enough to prove that he's good but not great and never will be. Mine's Paul George.
Mine's
But
on the
he's
same
supposed
team.
to be the second. Mine's the same type of player.
Okay.
Mine's Anthony Edwards. Now,
I think Anthony Edwards is underrated.
I think he's underrated. He's still young
see,
enough.
I
Like,
had
he
him
could be a
very
lot better.
high.
I was gonna say
I-
Kawhi. I think Kawhi kind of like AD. He's got that title, but he's just not that guy anymore.
Hold on, no, we can't do this. We cannot do this. We're an hour and 20 minutes, and this topic needs to be discussed further. So I need one of you to put a pin in this. Is Anthony at where is Anthony Edwards? That's a great topic. We will bring that up. That's going to be our first topic next show. I promise you, because I want to go deep on this.
We can. And do you want to hear who I expected him to be, though? Like,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted him to have a Devin Booker like year. And maybe that's too much to ask for someone so young.
Okay, Gov, can you summarize similarly, like within a couple minutes, of why you think he's underrated? Then give the people the preview.
I think like I just see his build type and the way he plays offense, and it's like he doesn't do much differently than like your Jimmy Butler right now for Miami, or like a Devin Booker for Phoenix. Like I agree, like he can totally just do what those guys do. He just has to put it down for a whole season and like be consistent.
I thought that was this year, though.
I agree.
Okay.
Like it might be next year. Like, but I feel like coming up is going to be a season where he averages almost 30 to 30 points. It's 6. He's going to look like young LeBron, 6 and 7, 7 and 7.
I'm not saying he
plus
can't be
25 plus points. I think he can do that in a season, no problem. And when he does, it's going to be like, oh God, Anthony Edwards has just shown up.
Yeah. Well, I had that expectation of him, and I need to see it now.
Now, could that happen? And then he's just Devin Booker, where that might be the best season he has, and you're going to try to build your team around him, but he's just not quite there.
You need a KD.
Hold on, though.
Right? Like where you need another good scorer next to him, even though he can do that. And like they have Towns, so like that could end up. That's why like I think the Towns Gobert experiment is what sort of kept him from going off this year.
Okay, this is the preview now. This is the sample. We can't give away all the goods. I promise you, this will get better SEO value if we open the show with our next podcast. Because we are going to go 30 minutes deep. So who's got the pin in this conversation? Because I need to make sure it's sharp. We are definitely going to hit on this. Is it Donnie? Who's putting the? Because I'm serious.
You put the pin in it, Logan. You go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are definitely talking about this. I will close the preview on this. Edwards will win an MVP within the next 5 years. I believe that. Now, am I going to be wrong? Maybe. Maybe I'll eat in 5 years, or maybe 4. Be like,
I want to talk about this. We got to stop because I want to say something, but I can't. I can't.
I just thought of another overrated. When you thought of that, I'm like, wait, is there another team that's up and coming who could throw out an MVP? Yes, there is, and that made me think of another guy who's underrated and overrated.
So
yeah,
we'll continue this. I mean, that's why you want to give the people. You want to give the people the bite of the apple. But
see, you gave me the bite of the apple, and now I can't stop.
Right? Like I'm starting to go through teams. Like who's the underrated, overrated guy on every team?
We could do that, Gov. We could honestly build this. But here's the thing: is I want these podcasts to be healthy conversations, and I know how YouTube works. If these are 2-hour conversations, no one's going to listen to them. So better if we break them into different podcast shows. So why don't we hit on a couple more of these quick hitters, and then kind of like it'll get our excitement going.
Hour and a half cut off.
Yeah. That's what I'm aiming for. So where does Hopkins go next? Anyone can take it.
At this point, I don't care.
He'll
go to a contender that has the money for him.
Gov, that's a great
That's
answer. I want to know why. Give me the sentence answer why.
Truthfully, I don't think he's that slate breaking of a wide receiver. People are talking about him because he's the best wide receiver on the market. This isn't a top 10 wide receiver coming out on the market. This isn't even Amari Cooper being available like he was 2 years ago. It's just not that. Like, he is a good wide receiver, but we know from his metrics, he only plays one side of the field. He's going to be very one-dimensional. He's already, like, what? This is going to be year 12 for him? Like, he's not young. Like, this is Julio leaving Atlanta. You're hoping to get one good year out of him.
You're right about his age. He's not young. I couldn't disagree with you stronger, though, on almost every other take. Which means, to me, we need to put a pin in this conversation as well for next week, right?
Yeah. But I will say.
So, quickly, Donnie, within a minute, I want the rebuttal to Gov's point within a minute. Go.
I don't even have a rebuttal because I'd be too long of a thing. But my team, the team that I really think has a shot at them, and it's going to seem like bias, I really think it's the Patriots. They cut a guy earlier this week to get more cap space. They have about $15 million to work with now.
He's already said he wouldn't go there. He's already laid out the.
He's had an interview. He went there, had an interview. He's posted stuff about the Patriots on his story. I mean, it's not. The Chiefs don't have the money.
He would have to completely backtrack on what he said. Because he said, I want to go to a contender. I want to get paid the money I'm due. And I want to.
He's interviewing with Houston and he's interviewing with New England.
Those have got to be Rooney Rule bullshit. Like, he would never sign with Houston or New England.
Hold on, though. Hold on.
Like, if he does that, then he's completely backtracking on what he's put out there. That he wants to play for a contender, that he wants to be paid what he's actually worth, and that he wants to play on a team with a good defense. The only thing the Patriots have on that is maybe a good defense. They're not a contender. But does he feel
he can help them become a contender?
No, he doesn't want to help you become a contender. He wants to go to someone that he puts you. He wants to go to to a conference title team that puts them.
But the Bills can't afford him. The Chiefs are gonna be hard pressed to get him.
I agree. There's not really a lot of options for him. Which is why he's probably not going to go. Like if the best scenario for him would be to go to like
Jacksonville.
Hold on though. I'm not being. This is not a homer take. The best team would actually be the Detroit Lions. They need.
I don't see that. I don't see that at all.
Hold on though. They need a wide receiver. They have the cap space to sign him outright. They could give him the money without making any major moves, and they are a contender. Whether you guys like that or not, they play.
They are not quite a contender yet. They need to make the playoffs.
I was about to say they're a playoff contender.
They are
because they're probably winning that division
because the division's so bad.
Like, I don't think Hopkins is just going to a random playoff team. If that were the case, he'd probably just sign with San Francisco.
But I'm not saying this because I'm a Lions fan, even though I'm my team. They play in a terrible division, which makes us a contender.
You're a playoff contender. You probably have the playoffs locked because of that division.
Listen,
unless Chicago
I'm a big believer
out of
in forged and fire divisions. But I think there's merit to being a dominant team in the division, but I think forged and fire divisions are very important.
And I think you're underestimating what a 33-year-old wide receiver actually wants out of his last contract he's ever getting. And
I think, I'd argue
definitely what that scenario is.
We have not hit a number one concern for Hopkins, and that's the thing. I'm telling you, his number one importance is what his mother feels. I'm assuming because his mom's going to go to all of his games.
Now, that's why I was going to say you're dead wrong about the Patriots. If he goes to the Patriots, I would be totally baffled. But I will say Houston is in contention because he has almost all of his family there.
Let's say he played there already for like 8 years. Like, him going back to Houston is him saying, I'm just going to play here for a year and then retire a Texan as like one of the greatest Texans of all time. That's what he does that for.
They have the money, and like he has a home there, and like I think like 90% of his family. Like, honestly, it'd be a homecoming. And so that is truly reportedly.
But his mom's going to go with him, I firmly believe. She went with him to Arizona. She was with them in Houston. His mom's, his mom's blind.
I told you that we were not going to go over an hour and 30 minutes. We have 20 seconds. Give the people your 10-second out.
Yeah. Have a good night, everyone. Oh, fun show. That's how I have to end it.
I'll be
Have a
ready to
good
talk
night.
on the next one. Yeah.
Miami is favored for game, what is it, 3? So we'll see
Yeah.
how that goes. Good night, guys.